Okay, hopefully this angle is good. The lighting. Hi guys, I'm mandydel. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I am here because this is not really fun, entertaining story time. Actually, this is a story time because of a situation that I had to face I think it was about a month ago now. Time has passed by. I had time to think about it, to talk about it, and this and that, and yeah, still came to the same conclusion that it is not okay. So I am making this video today because I was refused a facial because of my HIV status. I have never gotten a facial before, and so I thought it's just, like a normal type of thing most people get at some point in their lives, and shouldn't be an issue. I was really excited to get it. I didn't think that I would have to go through this whole ordeal, but here I am. I faced a situation of discrimination. This video is not so much for a fun, entertaining purpose, but more so to raise awareness, because quite frankly, I'm shocked that these situations are still happening today. And I want to raise awareness. I want to advocate for this. I will not stop advocating until there's no more stigma out there, until we are treated like normal human beings, until we are treated fairly and there is justice. I will continue to speak out on this, and I am proud to be a voice for the HIV/AIDS community, because we have to do it. Like, we have to fight, and it sucks, but in order to initiate change, people have to speak up and people have to come together and say, hey, this is not okay, and I won't shut up about it. I will not shut up about it. Anyways, wow, I talk way too much. Like, I really need to be more concise with my storytelling. Okay, so as you can tell by the title, I said that I got refused my first facial because of my HIV status. So this is how it went down. I bought a Groupon. If you don't know what Groupon is, it's basically a website that you can buy like services, a bunch of different things you can buy, and it's at a promotional price. So the businesses, they work with Groupon and they say, for example, for my facial, I believe it's worth about $150, but I got it for $50. So I bought that coupon to get my first facial. I will list on the screen what I was supposed to be getting, and at the end versus what I got. I paid for a microdermabrasion facial. I wasn't too sure what that was at first, to be honest, but I found out it's basically a machine that sands a fine layer of your skin, the top layer of your skin, basically. So it's a minimally invasive procedure used to renew overall skin tone and texture. It can improve a bunch of different things, wrinkles, sun damage, acne, this and that. And from what I researched, it's an instrument that gently sands your skin, removing the thicker, uneven outer layer. And so that's pretty much what it is. I've never done this before, and unfortunately I never got it done. So I'm not 100% sure like how it goes, because unfortunately, like I said, I did not get the treatment. But in simple terms, it's a machine that exfoliates your skin. That's what I paid for. On the day of my appointment, I arrived and I saw the woman there. She was nice at first. And she passed me this form to fill out. So I sat down, I looked over the form. At first it was just, like basic information, name, contact info, etc., etc. And then it goes down to health conditions. And one of the options was HIV. Because I like to be open about my status, I'm like, why not? It's just a facial, like, who cares, It's not like I'm getting this whole procedure done, I'm getting injections or something like that, right? It's not like I needed to mention it, because, by the way, if you did not know, legally, you do not have to disclose your HIV status, even if they ask you on the form. because you have the right to privacy, the right to confidentiality. So they are allowed to ask you if you have it, but you are not obliged to tell them if you have it or not. And I will get back to that after, because some people might be like, oh, but you should say it, you know, it's the right thing to do, blah, blah, blah. Well, I will get back to that. All in all, it's just to say that I did say that I have it. So I did check the box and I said undetectable HIV. Usually whenever I write that I have HIV, I always say like undetectable controlled HIV, because it's true, it's not out of hand or anything like that. It's controlled by medication every single day, and it is undetectable. If you do not know what undetectable is, it's essentially when I get a blood test, they cannot detect HIV in my blood because the amount of virus per milliliter of blood is so low that the blood test like can't even detect it. Why? Because I take 1 pill a day and that suppresses the virus and it's controlled. Because I'm undetectable, I cannot transmit it, and that's where U equals U comes into play. Undetectable equals untransmittable. Because I'm undetectable, I cannot transmit HIV. I can't transmit it sexually and can't transmit it by blood either. This is what doctors have told me. Obviously, I would not do like a blood donation or something like that. But for example, if I were to cut myself, someone else was bleeding too, the amount of virus in my blood is just so low that the blood contact just would not be enough. So I decided to write it down. And then on the back of the form, it was asking again. This time it was for the microdermabrasion procedure, and it asked if you have HIV or a specific type of diabetes. I don't remember exactly. They were asking if you have either one of those for this specific procedure. And so when I saw that, I was like, why are they asking specifically if I have HIV for this procedure? And that's when I asked a woman, I was like, so what is this procedure exactly? And she told me it's just a machine that we use. And she's like, oh, but I'll explain later. And I'm like, okay, but I kind of need to know, like, why are they asking this, you know? I'm like, does this involve any blood at all? And she's like, no, it doesn't involve blood. And I'm like, okay. So then what's the issue? Like, why are they asking if I have HIV then? I was like, okay, so it's not like microneedling where there's blood involved. And she's like, no, it just exfoliates the skin. So I'm like, okay, so in my head I'm like, there shouldn't be a problem. I check it off, I say, yeah, I have HIV. Then I return the papers to her. Then she's like, thank you. She looks at the papers and she's like, oh, this girl has HIV. And so she looks at that and she's like, oh, one moment, I'm just going to ask my boss something. And I'm like, okay, alright, like, what's up, you know? Like, obviously I knew what was going on. I thought, you know, this is just a facial. Me having HIV should not be an issue. So she texts her boss, and then her boss texts back that they cannot give me the treatment. Why? Because they reuse the same machine for every client, and they want to protect themselves and just make sure that it's safe for every client. That's what she told me. I was staying calm throughout all of this, by the way. I was just like, okay, taking the information that she's telling me. And then at that point I was like, well, this is the point where I'm gonna have to educate her and tell her, you know, that it can't be transmitted through dead skin cells or things like that. I educated her and I told her the ways that it can be transmitted, and she just kept repeating the same thing, saying that they want to be safe, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay. She said that they can't use it on me because they don't throw away the instruments, they have to reuse them. And I'm like, okay, but don't you sterilize your instruments? And she said, yeah, we do, but because we want to protect all our clients and make sure that everything's safe, they said they can't do it. And this is where there's an issue, okay? Because every business, okay, whether that be dental, medical, aesthetic type of business, they should all be using something called universal protective measures. You have the responsibility to sterilize your instruments every time between clients. If you are not doing that, that is not the responsibility of the client. That is the responsibility of the business. And you have to assume that every client might have something, you know, whether that be HIV or not, some type of contagious thing. It's like, do you really think that every time the dentist used their instruments on someone, they will throw them out? No, they sterilize them. And why is that enough? Because sterilizing kills all the bacteria, viruses. So if you're saying that even after sterilizing, you don't want to do it, it's maybe because you're not sterilizing it enough, or maybe you're not sterilizing it at all, or maybe they're just really overprotecting themselves. But in overprotecting themselves, they're actually hurting themselves, because this is where the discrimination really hit. It's how they treated me differently than another client that would have bought the same treatment, and this is not okay. So look, I kept trying to educate her and telling her, like, hey, if you sterilize it, there's not a problem. I even told her I go to the dentist and they sterilize their instruments after they use them on me, and sometimes there is bleeding, and that's fine because sterilizing kills all the bacteria, the viruses, etc., etc. So like, it's not an issue at all. And she wouldn't budge. You know, she was following what her manager told her. I was like, okay, well, so what now? You know, what now? She's like, but we can offer you a little bit of a different treatment. She's like, we can still give you a facial, but just not with the machine. And I'm like, oh, well, isn't the machine the whole thing? Like, that is what the facial is using the machine. How are you gonna give me a facial without using the machines? So get this, I paid for a 3-step treatment, which is deep cleansing of the skin, okay, deep exfoliation by microdermabrasion, which was the machine that she's refusing to use on me, and then third is rejuvenating treatment by thermal technique. So that is another machine. It's a thermal machine that they would use on my skin. I was not allowed to have any machines used on me, unfortunately. So instead, this is what she told me she could give me. She can cleanse my skin, she can squeeze any blackheads or things like that by hand, then use a tonic, put a mask, and a massage. A face massage or whatever. And I'm like, at that point, I could have gotten mad, quite frankly. I could have said, look, this is not what I paid for. I could have said I want my money back, stuff like that. But I chose to remain rational, to monitor what was going on, because I knew that at that point, they messed up. They messed up bad. I knew that it's so much more worth it to just wait it through and see what they're doing, because I knew eventually it will get back to them. To me, it was not worth getting emotional and angry, even though inside I was very mad. I was just honestly disappointed. I was hurt. I'm not gonna lie. But I knew that acting rational over emotional would benefit me long term, and this is what I'm doing. So at that point, that's what she told me she could do, and I was like, okay, well, at that point I just wanted my facial. I was just like, let me just get this done and I'm not gonna go to this place ever again. She's like, okay. So we go in the room, I lie down on the table and she starts cleansing my skin. She has gloves on, which is good, which is what you should do for every client, because those are universal protective measures. You'll be fine. I was not really sure what she meant by she can do the facial by hand until she started squeezing like places on my skin where, I don't know if you can see, but I have no pimples. I have nothing. Like, my skin's on fleek, okay? I'm not really sure what she was squeezing, but she was squeezing like around my nose, stuff like that, trying to get blackheads. Quite frankly, I could have done that myself in front of my own mirror at home, but anyways, that was the replacement. Instead of using a proper microdermabrasion machine that sands the outer layer so that my skin can renew. Yeah, that is not an equivalent at all. That is not an equivalent at all. So after that, she put tonic on my skin, and then she was like, oh, you know, since we didn't use the machine on you, I'm gonna give you a $20 collagen mask for free. I'm like, okay, I don't think that's worth $150 though. Anyways, so I was like, okay, I saw that she was trying to accommodate, which is good, but yeah, so she put the mask on my face, waited a little bit, she went out, she came back in, took the mask off, and then she said she was gonna give me a facial massage. And so she started giving me the massage, and I saw that she had gloves on. Usually, like every time I had a massage, it was always without gloves. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that they usually give facial massages with gloves on. I really hope so, because, oh gosh, you cannot get HIV by just touching someone's skin. I really hope that it's just, you know, a measure that they usually use. But yeah, she gave me a facial massage with nitrile gloves on, and that was what I got, which was a totally different treatment than what I paid for. All because they were scared of my HIV status. That is discrimination, baby. That is treating someone totally different because you know certain information about them and there is no risk involved. That is something else. If there was a big risk involved, I would understand, okay? But the thing that really infuriated me, because I chose to be honest, I got treated differently. Do you know the amount of people that, you know, go in there and probably don't mention their health status on the forms? There's probably a lot of people that don't mention, you know, their conditions, and they have the right to that. They have the right to privacy. But because I chose to be open about it, I get treated differently. It is not okay. It is not okay. It is a violation of my rights, quite frankly. And I'm not even exaggerating. I've been educated on the laws and whatnot, at least where I live. Yeah, I was told that this is a violation of my human rights. They could have had clients who had HIV who didn't tell them. But that shouldn't be an issue though, because they have the responsibility to be using universal protective measures, and so they should already be sterilizing their equipment no matter what. So like me having HIV, on top of me being undetectable, should not be a problem. And like undetectable or not, it should not be a problem. Why? Because of the protective measures. If they're not using adequate protective measures, they should not be resulting to treating clients differently. But that's the thing, I don't know. They could be using those protective measures, but they could be just overprotecting themselves, and in overprotecting themselves, they're actually hurting themselves. This situation should not be taken lightly. I know at the end of the day, it's like, boo-hoo, I didn't get my facial, but then again, it's like, boo-hoo, I got treated totally differently because of my health, in a situation where my HIV status should not be an issue. Like, this is literally just me trying to get my first facial. And I still didn't get my first facial, technically. This is not gonna... I do not want to remember my first facial with this. So, like, please, if there's any estheticians that give facials that are watching my videos and you want to take me, please contact me, because I'm trying to get a bomb facial, okay? I deserve a good facial regardless of my HIV status, okay? Like, so like I was saying, they should be taking these protective measures because they should not be putting themselves at risk. So like having these forms are kind of unnecessary because these forms lead to them treating people differently according to what the person wrote on the form, when in reality the treatment should be the same for every single client that walks in there. The measures that they take should be the same because they should act like every client could be a risk. Technically, in my case, I am not a risk because I'm undetectable, but yes, if my viral charge was high and if there was, you know, some blood exposure, then it could be a risk. But since they're wearing gloves, since they sterilized their machine, it would not be an issue. Also, I want to mention that yes, microdermabrasion is not supposed to involve blood. However, if you have, say, acne or, you know, big pimples and stuff like that, since it scrapes the outer layer, there could be a little bit of bleeding. But in my case, I literally have nothing on my face. My skin would not be bleeding. I could get microneedling done and it should not be an issue when protective measures are in place. And so it's not up to me to be responsible. They should not have given me a different treatment, because if they don't have a legitimate reason to treat me differently, that is discrimination. And in this case, it was health discrimination. What made me make this video and what made me hurt inside is because I chose to be honest, I got treated differently. And do you see how this pushes and encourages people living with HIV to stay in isolation and feel like they have to live their life in secrecy? It's like, no, the world should adapt to us living within society. We are part of society as well, and we shouldn't have to feel like we have to hide this part of ourselves because we might be treated differently. We should not be treated differently. In any case, we are part of society just like anyone else. I have HIV and I own it. And if you're not okay with that, ask yourself why. Is it fear-based? Open your mind. If you get new information that is scientifically sound and you still choose to live in your ignorance, that is small-minded. Expand. The world is so much better out here. And that is what I have to say. That is why I'm doing this video, because I spent the first 20 years of my life isolating, not telling anyone about my HIV status in fear of being treated differently. And now that I choose to live my life openly with my HIV status and I get treated differently, it's another type of hurt. But it shows that when people say, oh, well, just live your life openly with HIV, you know, just do it. You know, why are you hiding yourself? This is why. Because we're still facing discrimination and prejudice and unfairness. It should not be happening. And I don't want these type of situations to keep pushing people back in the dark. No, let's be open, let's be out here, let's talk about it. When things like this happen, we need to talk about it. And I am proud to be that voice. I will not fucking shut up. Like, I will not shut up until we are treated just like everyone else, till we are treated equally. This is one of the first times that I actually live a situation of discrimination because of my HIV status. I'm very lucky. I'm not gonna lie. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say I'm very lucky, because honestly this shouldn't happen to anyone, but it's just, this is one of the first times that this happens to me, and it really hurt me. I'm not gonna lie, after I came out of that spa, I went in my car and I just started crying. I was like, did this really happen to me? It felt so unfair. I felt so disrespected. I felt like I was treated like if I was a virus, that I was something that people should be scared of, when in reality it's a totally manageable chronic illness today, and this should not be happening anymore. And yeah, it really hurts me, because I don't want anyone else to go through this. I will not let this situation that happened to me stop me from being open about my HIV status. I will continue living my life like this, okay? No matter how much discrimination, no matter how much rejection I get, no matter how many threats, whatever, I will keep living my life like this, because I told myself at 20 years old that I did not want to live like that anymore. I did not want to live in isolation anymore and keep hiding this part of me. No, this is part of who I am, and I own it. And the world must adapt, not us. We are just as much a part of society as anyone else, and we will have justice. If this clinic sees this video, I hope you know what you did. You didn't just hurt me, you hurt everyone who has HIV. This is a setback for a comeback. Just know that you got the wrong girl, because I will not stop fighting for this cause. I'm not going to expose the clinic. I could very well do that, but I want bigger things than just exposing someone. I want actual change. And so that's all I'm going to say for now. But just know that I am working on fixing this situation, and I will not stop advocating for this community. We have to stick up for each other. And yeah, I'm not just doing this because I got wronged. Like, I want everyone in this community to feel like it is safe to be open about their status. Let's normalize living with HIV, just like other illnesses that are normalized in society. It's okay to have a chronic illness, and you shouldn't be treated any differently. Alright, so that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, if you don't have HIV, I hope you can learn something from this and see how it can be very frustrating for people who are living with this illness. And yeah, I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for over 1,000 subscribers. I am forever grateful. Like, I can't believe that. I can kind of believe it. I'm not gonna lie. I can kind of believe it. But it's awesome that this many people want to support me and like my videos and stuff like that. So yeah, more content to come. This is the start of a new chapter, the start of some change. If you guys want, I can update you eventually. However, this might be a little bit of a slow process, but slow and steady. I want to take my time with this, and I want to do it properly, because I really want a change to happen. I don't want just an initial getting mad at them. Where is that gonna bring us? Nowhere. I'm excited. I'm excited for some real change. So yeah, that was my experience, how I got refused my first facial because of my HIV status. Yay. I hope this video can raise awareness and just make people realize that this should not be happening anymore. This should not be happening, period, but especially not still to this day. Especially not in 2021, almost in 2022. Like, this kind of stuff should not be happening. Living with HIV is like living with any other illness at this point. We take medication every day, 1 pill a day, and it's totally controlled. And we can have sexual partners and not transmit it to them, even without protection. We can have children and not give it to them. Like, it has changed so much. And so the mentality around it in society should also change. Like, people need to be up to date on this, because I still hear stigma. Literally last night, someone said something about HIV and how, you know, they're sick and stuff like that. People still think that if you get that, you're super sick and you're dying. It is not like that anymore. We have to fight the stigma. No more. That is it for today's video. I love you all. Bye.